She was 74, planting roses under the fading sun. He was a cop with a gun and a grudge. One question. One lie. One bullet. That's all it took to set off a chain reaction that would shake the entire justice system. But what if I told you the victim wasn't just any woman, and the man behind the badge had more than just a trigger-happy past? This is the kind of story that demands to be heard and remembered. Subscribe now and stay with us, because this one goes all the way to the top. Hey, old woman. Hold still. What the hell are you doing here at this hour? Easton's voice rang out abruptly, rude and suspicious, breaking the stillness of the evening. Gloria looked up, her kind eyes narrowing in the direction of the voice. She was a little surprised to see a policeman approaching her with an unfriendly attitude. Good evening, officer. What's the matter? I'm just tending to these roses, she replied politely, though she felt a little confused. Tending to roses. Easton sneered, a sneer of contempt. He stopped a few feet away, his eyes scanning the old woman's head to toe, lingering meaningfully on her dark skin and plain clothes. You don't look like someone who lives in this upscale neighborhood, do you? You must be a maid who sneaks out while her boss is away to do something shady, right? The racial slur was unabashed. Gloria frowned, deeply offended. She had lived here with her son for several months, and while she might not have dressed in the silks of the other ladies in the neighborhood, she did not deserve to be treated like this. Officer, I am not a maid. This is my son Malcolm Tate's house, and I live with him. I have a right to be here. Your son Malcolm Tate? Easton repeated the name suspiciously. Here in Willow Creek Estates. Don't make this up. He moved closer, his tone becoming more arrogant. Where's your identification? Show me. Let's see if you're really someone's mother or just a phony vagrant. I was in my own yard and I didn't have my wallet or identification with me, Gloria replied, her voice starting to harden a little at the unfair treatment. And I have no obligation to show you my papers when I've done nothing wrong. Tell me, what legitimate reason would you have for stopping me and asking me such unreasonable questions? Gloria's calm, clear-headedness and the questioning of his reason added fuel to Easton's simmering anger. He was a prejudiced man who felt insecure and threatened by people of color, especially when they appeared intelligent or stood up for their rights. He felt his police authority was being challenged by an old black woman. Because I doubt you. Easton shouted, his face red, his right hand already gripping the butt of his gun. You're being defiant. You're hiding something. He saw Gloria instinctively take a step back as he approached, her hand perhaps raised slightly to shield him. To Easton, in his state of tension and blind prejudice, the action was interpreted as a threat. Freeze. Drop your weapon. He roared irrationally, though it was clear that Gloria had no weapon in her hand other than a small pair of pruning shears. Gloria froze, completely confused by the officer's unreasonable order and aggressive attitude. She opened her mouth to explain, to say that she was unarmed, but she no longer had the chance. In a moment of madness, driven by unfounded fear, racial prejudice, and uncontrolled anger, Officer Kyle Easton pulled his Glock pistol from its holster. Bang! A single gunshot rang out, sharp and dry, tearing apart the quiet of Willow Creek Estates. The bullet struck Gloria Tate in the chest. Her eyes widened in horror and disbelief. She staggered back a few steps, then collapsed onto the lush green lawn, right next to the crimson rose bushes she had so carefully tended. Blood began to ooze from the wound on her chest, staining her purple sweater. Officer Easton stood there stunned for a moment, looking at the old woman's lifeless body and the smoking gun in his hand. What had he done? Panic began to take over his mind. He looked around, saw a few windows of nearby houses open, a few figures peeking out. Screams began to ring out. Oh my God. Gunshots. Someone's been shot. Call 911 now. Easton was startled. He had to act fast. He quickly holstered his weapon and pulled out his walkie-talkie, stammering a report to the center. Center, this is car 54. There was a shooting at the address. Subject was acting threateningly. I was forced to shoot in self-defense. Request an ambulance and immediate support. He began crafting a false story to cover up his terrible act. But the truth cannot be hidden forever. The fatal gunshot had not only taken the life of a gentle, innocent mother, it was about to cause a legal and political earthquake that would shake the entire city. Because the victim was not just any elderly black woman. She was Gloria Tate, the mother of federal prosecutor Malcolm Tate. The wail of police and ambulance sirens quickly shattered the quiet of Willow Creek Estates. Within minutes, the small street in front of Malcolm Tate's house was blocked off by yellow tape and swarmed by the Harmonville police. Red and blue lights flashed in the twilight, creating a chaotic and mournful scene. Paramedics rushed from the ambulance to where Gloria Tate lay motionless on the grass. After a quick examination, they shook their heads. She had died at the scene, the bullet having caused fatal damage to her heart and lungs. Her body was temporarily covered with a white sheet, awaiting the forensic team. The crime scene was heavily secured by officers. Detective Dennis Cook, a veteran from the Harmonville Police Department's Major Crimes Unit, was assigned to the investigation. He worked methodically, ordering photographs from multiple angles, marking the location of shell casings near where Easton had stood, seizing Easton's firearm for ballistics testing, and collecting initial witness statements. Officer Kyle Easton, the shooter, was immediately removed from the scene and placed in isolation in another patrol car, as per standard procedure for officer-involved shootings. When Detective Cook arrived to take his initial statement, Easton appeared distraught but stuck to his self-defense claim. I was on patrol and saw her acting suspicious in the yard," Easton stammered. "I asked for her ID and she got hostile. She reached into her pocket like she had a weapon. I saw something shiny. I thought my life was in danger. I had to shoot in self-defense. I had no choice." He tried to make his story sound reasonable, but the panic in his voice and inconsistencies in his statement were not lost on Detective Cook's trained eyes. Meanwhile, other officers canvassed the neighborhood, interviewing witnesses who had seen or heard the incident. Their accounts were nearly identical. They recalled hearing the officers shouting before the shot. Some said Gloria was simply gardening and posed no threat at all. One neighbor specifically noted she was only holding pruning shears, not a weapon. These statements clearly contradicted Easton's version of events. Most importantly, Easton's body camera data was immediately seized and secured. Detective Cook knew this footage would be the most critical and objective piece of evidence in the investigation. He ordered the tech team to prioritize its review. The next step was identifying the victim and notifying her next of kin. Detectives entered the home to look for the elderly woman's identification. In a guest bedroom on the first floor, they found Gloria's wallet. Inside was an old driver's license and a social security card. Inside the wallet were a social security card and several family photos. The name confirmed her identity, Gloria Tate, 74. In her notebook, officers found emergency contact details for her son Malcolm Tate, including his phone number and office address. One detail stood out to Detective Cook: the address was for the United States Attorney's Office. He frowned. A federal prosecutor. That couldn't be a coincidence. He decided to make the call himself. He dialed the number. After a few rings, a deep, professional voice answered. U.S. Attorney's Office, Tate speaking. How may I help you? Cook's heart skipped. Tate. Same last name. He double-checked the documents. Gloria Tate. He tried to stay calm. Excuse me, sir. Am I speaking to Federal Attorney Malcolm Tate? Yes, this is Malcolm Tate. What's going on? The voice replied. A hint of unease creeping in. Cook took a breath. Sir, this is Detective Dennis Cook with the Harmonville Police Department. I regret to inform you there was a shooting at your residence in Willow Creek Estates. What? At my house. Malcolm's voice tensed. Is anyone hurt? Was my mother home? Cook's throat tightened. The victim was an elderly woman named Gloria Tate. She did not survive. I'm so sorry. There was silence. A long, haunting silence. Then a whisper. Gloria Tate is my mother. He said it again, as if forcing himself to accept it. What the hell happened, detective? Who did this? Cook swallowed hard. It's under investigation. It involves one of our officers. Officer Kyle Easton. He didn't finish. Malcolm's voice turned cold, filled with fury. Kyle Easton. I'm coming now. He hung up. News spread fast. The department was in shock. Chief Davis knew they were facing an unprecedented crisis. Pressure from the Doge, the FBI, the media, and public outrage would be immense. Officer Easton was already in custody, now placed under special watch. When he learned the identity of the woman he had killed, his arrogance crumbled. Fear took over. He finally realized the full weight of his actions and that this time there would be no escape. That same night, the U.S. Department of Justice ordered the FBI to take over the case. The reason was clear: the victim was the mother of a high-ranking federal prosecutor, and the signs of a civil rights violation were undeniable. A specialized team from the FBI Civil Rights Unit, led by Special Agent in charge Lillian Brooks, was sent to Harmonville immediately. Known for her precision and zero tolerance for abuse, Brooks took control of the scene, seized all evidence, and made it clear the FBI was now in charge. The FBI's top priority was reviewing Officer Kyle Easton's bodycam footage. It was considered the most objective and crucial evidence in the case. Analysts at the FBI's Quantico lab worked nonstop to recover every frame and sound. What the video revealed was shocking and completely destroyed Easton's self-defense claim. The footage showed Easton stopping his car and approaching Gloria Tate as she peacefully gardened in her yard. His tone was arrogant, aggressive, and laced with racial and class-based insults. He questioned her presence, demanded papers, and made assumptions based on her appearance. Gloria remained calm and polite. She explained she lived there with her son and asked for a valid reason for being detained. She never raised her voice or acted in a threatening way. The video captured Easton escalating without cause. He yelled repeatedly, made unreasonable demands, and then suddenly shouted, "Drop your weapon," even though Gloria was clearly unarmed. A split second later, he pulled his gun and shot her in the chest at close range. The act was immediate and brutal, with no evidence of real danger, only rage and bias. This footage became undeniable proof of Easton's abuse of power, racial prejudice, and reckless violence. Witness interviews backed up the video. Neighbors confirmed Gloria was kind and calm, just tending her garden. They heard Easton yelling before the gunshot. The autopsy confirmed she was killed by one close-range shot to the chest. No weapon was found, just pruning shears nearby. Clearly not a threat. The FBI also investigated Easton's story. Though he had no serious disciplinary record, there were many complaints from people of color about his aggressive, biased behavior. Most were dismissed by the Harmonville Police Department, revealing a pattern of misconduct and systemic failure. While the investigation moved forward, U.S. Attorney Malcolm Tate, Gloria's son, maintained his professional role. Due to a conflict of interest, he couldn't lead the case directly, but he stayed closely involved behind the scenes. He worked with the Attorney General and Agent Brooks to ensure every detail was pursued and justice was served. At a brief press conference days after the tragedy, Malcolm Tate appeared somber but composed. He praised his late mother as a kind woman who believed in justice. He demanded a thorough and fair investigation and called the incident a painful reminder of police violence and racism in America. His emotional yet professional statement drew public sympathy and widespread support. Meanwhile, Kyle Easton could no longer defend himself. Whether he panicked, blamed the victim, or shut down completely no longer mattered. The truth was fully exposed. The FBI had enough evidence to file the strongest possible charges and prepare for a historic trial. After the investigation concluded, the U.S. Attorney's Office made a shocking decision to seek the death penalty against Easton. It reflected the severity of the case, public outrage, and the victim's identity as a federal prosecutor's mother. The Justice Department wanted to send a clear message: police brutality would face the harshest consequences. To ensure fairness, an independent federal prosecutor, Alicia Grant, was appointed. She is a seasoned civil rights attorney with death penalty trial experience. She was given full authority to lead the case. The formal indictment included 3 major charges: deprivation of civil rights under color of law resulting in death, a serious federal charge punishable by death; use of a deadly weapon during a violent crime, adding more prison time; third-degree murder under state law, focusing on an intentional killing without premeditation. The combination of federal and state charges ensured maximum accountability. Easton's trial in federal court attracted national and international attention. The courtroom was packed every day, and the eyes of the world were on the case. After days of tense deliberation, the jury returned with a unanimous verdict. The courtroom was silent. Kyle Easton stood pale and rigid. Malcolm Tate sat in the front row, eyes closed. The foreman read the verdict: guilty on all charges, deprivation of civil rights, use of a deadly weapon, and second-degree murder. Easton nearly collapsed. Malcolm Tate shed a silent tear, Justice had spoken. Next came sentencing. The jury was tasked with deciding between life without parole or the death penalty. After hours of emotional review, they returned. The foreman stood again. "We unanimously recommend the sentence of death." Gasps filled the room. Easton stood trembling, his fate sealed. At the formal hearing, the judge affirmed the jury's recommendation. He cited the brutality of the crime, the betrayal of public trust, and the need for justice. Then came the sentence, death penalty. Easton collapsed. His family sobbed. Malcolm Tate sat motionless, tears streaming down his face. Justice was done, but the pain remained. Easton was handcuffed and taken away in silence, beginning the long walk down death row. His sentencing ignited national debate about capital punishment and police accountability. For the Black community and victims of injustice, it was a powerful affirmation: no one is above the law. After the trial, Malcolm Tate addressed the media. He mourned his mother's loss, praised the justice system, and vowed to fight for reform to end abuse of power, protect civil rights, and ensure tragedies like this never happen again. The Easton case is now studied in law schools and police academies. It's a reminder of the damage caused by unchecked authority and racial bias. The Harmonville Police Department, and others like it, now face pressure to reform and rebuild trust. The shooting at Willow Creek will never be forgotten, a scar on the city and a lesson for the nation. 1 month after the trial, the shock had faded, but the echoes remained. In Harmonville, flowers still lined the gate outside the community garden where Gloria Tate once tended her roses. People came in quiet waves, some to mourn, some to reflect, and many just to stand in silence. Her photo, framed in white roses, had become a symbol of change. The police department underwent a sweeping internal review. Dozens of cases were reopened. Officers once shielded by silence now faced real accountability. A new civilian oversight board was formed, with real power, not just for show. The department's leadership was replaced, and mandatory training in racial bias, de-escalation, and community relations became law. Nationally, the case sparked momentum. Lawmakers introduced legislation called the Gloria Tate Act, aimed at increasing transparency in police use of force incidents and requiring real-time release of bodycam footage. Civil rights groups pushed harder than ever, fueled by public support that had surged in the wake of the verdict. As for Malcolm Tate, he returned to work quietly. He declined interviews, stayed away from cameras, and focused on policy reform. But in every meeting room he stepped into, people stood straighter. They listened. Because he was no longer just a federal prosecutor, he was the son of a woman whose blood had awakened a city. And in the hearts of many, the name Gloria Tate was no longer just a victim. She was a spark, a reminder, a legacy. And the movement she unknowingly began was only just getting started. 6 months had passed since the tragic shooting that changed Harmonville forever. The headlines had quieted, but the transformation was still unfolding quietly, steadily, and powerfully. The police department looked nothing like it once did. Nearly a third of the force had either resigned, been removed, or retired early. New recruits now came from diverse backgrounds, trained under a revised curriculum rooted in empathy, accountability, and civil rights. The once feared badge was slowly becoming a symbol of service again, not control. The community garden Gloria Tate once cared for had been renamed in her honor. A bronze plaque now stood near the rose bushes that still bloomed crimson. In memory of Gloria Tate, mother, neighbor, peacemaker. Her life planted seeds we must continue to grow. School children learned her name. Churches held interfaith vigils in her memory. And once a month, the local community center hosted a courage circle where residents gathered to share stories of injustice, healing, and action. Attendance kept growing. The Gloria Tate Foundation, quietly launched by Malcolm Tate, had begun awarding grants to support legal defense for victims of police violence and to fund scholarships for young people pursuing public interest law. Its mission was clear: turn pain into purpose. As for Malcolm, he spoke rarely but worked relentlessly. Behind closed doors, he met with mayors, governors, and federal leaders, pushing for broader systemic reform. His grief remained, etched in the quiet behind his eyes, but it had been forged into something unbreakable: resolve. And across America, in cities big and small, Gloria Tate's story still rippled outward. In classrooms, in council chambers, in conversations between parents and children about justice, safety, and race, her name lived on. Harmonville had changed. It was not perfect, but it was awake. and it was moving forward, not out of fear, not out of rage, but out of memory and hope. Note: this story is entirely fictional and created for the purpose of raising awareness. It highlights issues of responsibility, justice, and the importance of treating everyone with respect and dignity. We firmly oppose violence, prejudice, and injustice in all forms. Viewer discretion is advised.